Welcome to our 10th video in our series, How You Can Learn Any Language. Today we're going to talk a little bit about traveling. Hi, my name is Rachele DeMeo from Belle Terre Academy. So obviously something that can help you learn, practice, use a language is to travel to a place that speaks it. Well, you might say that's a given, but if you know me or have gotten to know me, you know that I'm thinking clearly outside the box. And I'm not just saying go to France to learn French. Definitely not. But let me give you a few tips, not just on where to travel, but how to travel. So something that you really want to consider is researching areas where that language is spoken. So don't just think in terms of countries, but think in terms of regions. For instance, I'll go with my native language, which is French. When you're considering learning French, you may already know that it's spoken over 5 continents, but you may not know exactly where. Or you may say, you know what, I've already been to France, I've already been to Canada, knock those 2 out. Maybe there's a few others places that you want to look up, but really do your research. For instance, 20% of Israel is French speaking. So if I'm thinking, hey, I would love to go to Israel, which I do, then I might say, hey, I wonder what areas are French speaking. Is it just like some region? Is it a city? And do a little research on where I'm able to practice French in Israel. Or if I've done more research, again, using French, my native language, as an example, I might say, India is not predominantly French speaking. However, there is a colony in Pondicherry that is. Maybe that's a place I'd like to visit because it's French speaking. So when you're looking at where you want to travel to be able to practice and use the language that you're learning or simply maintaining, then do a little bit of research to find out what little niches, what little places may be French speaking so that you can go to those places. So like if I'm looking at Italian, I might say, well, obviously I know that they speak Italian in Italy, duh. But I might say, well, I might go to Sardinia, or I might see if there's any islands that are French or that are Italian speaking. So when you're learning a language, consider where you may travel. When you're thinking of vacationing somewhere, again, I would highly recommend that you select places where the language that you're learning is spoken. So do a little research on that. Ask people that speak the language, ask people that know maybe more about geography, and get a little information so that you can figure out where you can vacation, have fun, traveling in a place that speaks that language. So that's the first thing, is to do that research and be able to travel there. Now let's talk a little bit about how. So in terms of how, I'll give you an example of my trip to Morocco last year. You might have seen my video on that. It was such an amazing trip. However, when I was traveling and going to Morocco, I actually started researching and looking up some of the cultural aspects of the country. I knew that they spoke French and Arabic, so I learned, a few phrases and words to get by in Arabic, even if I knew I'd be fine with French, just out of respect. And then culturally, I did some research. So you definitely want to culturally learn information while you're traveling, possibly while you're on the plane, train, whatever way you're getting there. But also before, you want to get some information on the culture, because you'll have not just a better experience, but a more authentic experience. When people tell me, oh yeah, I went to France, Paris, then I like Paris, don't get me wrong. But when they say, hey, I've been to France and their experience wasn't that great, I usually ask a series of questions, and it always leads to the same answer, that they didn't really get an authentic experience. They did all the touristy things. Who were there? Tourists from all over the world. So again, look at how you can get to know the culture so that you're not doing something that's kind of a faux pas, something that could be a little offensive, and you'll get a more authentic experience, and you'll definitely appreciate the culture. Actually, I'll tell you something that was kind of ironic. When I went to Morocco, I was vegan for 3 years, and just only because of animal cruelty reasons. And when I was there, invited at a person's house, she prepared chicken. I hadn't had meat in 3 years. Obviously, it upset my stomach just a tiny bit, but I wasn't going to say no. I'm inviting in their home, and I knew a little bit about the culture to accept that as wow, that's really kind. Thank you. Thank you for sending the liver just for me. Anyway, so do research on the culture, and when you're there traveling, you want to make sure that you're doing everything, or as much as possible, in that language. If you're visiting a museum and you had headphones on that's kind of describing everything, you should select the audio in that language. Instead of selecting your native language, which would be the easy thing to do, try to select the language that is spoken in the country that you're traveling, what is spoken, where so you can really learn it. And when you're there, think of meeting people and then also making friendships and have them show you around. So again, you're going to be traveling using it, and you're going to see how fulfilling it is to travel to a place that speaks the language, to use it. You're going to feel so proud to understand the culture, and maybe you may even adopt some of that culture when you go back home. Anyway, that's all about why you should be traveling to places that speak the language or languages that you are learning or maintaining. Next week is our last week in our series, but the tip I'm going to provide is the best one yet.